Let's have a look at some questions from your Essential Assessment timesheet. The first set of questions are just asking you to find differences between given times or amounts of time. We can either do these calculations in our head or we can use the calculator for anything we're unsure of. Each question is either written in 12 or 24-hour time, and so by reading the question carefully, I'll know how my answer should be written. Looking at question 1A, I'm asked to find the time in 12-hour time if I want to add on 6 hours, as it says 6 hours later, than 7:34 in the morning. If I wish to do this calculation on my calculator, I would be pressing 7 and that bubble button to input hours, 34 and the bubble button again for minutes, and then I would be pressing the plus button and putting in 6 and the bubble button to indicate 6 hours. And by pressing equals, it will give me 6 hours after 7:34 a.m. And remembering that with the calculator, we are trying to make sure we work in 24-hour time. If we've done this correctly, the calculator should read for us 13 hours and 34 minutes. And by converting this back to the 12-hour time given, this means that 6 hours after 7:34 a.m. is 1:34 p.m. Again, the process is the same if we want to look at question 1b. However, this time the question reads 9 hours before 10:48 a.m. Before meaning we need to take the 9 hours off. This question is quite easy to do in our head, as 9 hours before 10:48 a.m. would bring us back to 1:48 a.m. But we can check our working on the calculator by inputting 10 hours, 48 minutes, and subtracting from that 9 hours, and the calculator will display for us 1 hour and 48 minutes with no seconds. And remembering that the calculator display works in 24-hour time, this reads for us 1:48 a.m. The next question is expressed in 24-hour time already and is just asking us to add 7 hours onto 1708 hours or 5:08 p.m. Adding 7 hours on brings us to 2408 hours, and knowing that we shouldn't express it that way and that 2400 is the same as writing 00, we should express this answer as 0008 hours. Now considering question 2, these questions are just asking us to work out the difference between the two times shown. Some are easier than others, as some are both expressed as time periods in the morning, while others cross over time periods. These questions require you to use your problem-solving techniques to work out the fastest method to find the time difference. I generally find it easier to break it up into hourly lots and then compare sets of 10 minutes to each other. So for instance, I can see that in that first question, I'm going from AM to AM, starting at 6 hours and ending up at 11 hours, giving me a time difference of 5 hours. Considering the minutes in the question, I'm starting at 5 minutes past the hour and ending up at 32 minutes past the hour, giving us a difference of 27 minutes. And so the total time difference between the two given times is 5 hours and 27 minutes. Generally, I find 24-hour time is even easier to work in, as we can see how far through the 24-hour time period we've ended up at. So looking at question C, I'm starting at 700 hours and finding the difference to get to 2100 hours. Thinking about the subtraction of those two numbers, 21 minus 7 gives me 14 hours. I can do the same thing for the minutes, as I'm starting at 15 past the hour and then ending up at 28 past the hour, giving me a total difference of 13 minutes. For the next section, while time zones are a part of your course, they won't be assessed in this exam, and so for the moment we will leave this question. The final two questions are also taken from your Essential Assessment Time worksheet and are examples of problems involving time, and you can be assessed on these in your upcoming exam. As with any word problem, we need to read the question carefully and underline any key information. The first question reads, "The World Cup soccer final is on tonight at 9:35 p.m. Rio de Janeiro Standard Local Time. If Rio de Janeiro is 13 hours behind Australia, what time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, are we able to view this game live?" So the key information here is that the start of the game is at 9:35 p.m. in Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is 13 hours behind Australia, so meaning that we are going to be able to view this game live 13 hours ahead of where they currently are. By writing out the key information, it makes it very clear how we need to answer this question. If the game starts at 9:35 p.m. and Australia is 13 hours ahead, we need to add 13 hours onto that start time to work out the time it will be viewed in Australia. If we wish to use the calculator to work this question out, we need to convert that 9:35 p.m. into 24-hour time before we input it into the calculator, giving us 2100 hours and 35 minutes, and we want to add to that 13 hours. However, our calculator is going to display for us 34 hours and 35 minutes, which doesn't make sense as our 24-hour time period should finish at 2400 hours. Using our problem-solving skills, we can see that this is just 10 hours past the 24-hour time period. Meaning that we are currently viewing that game at 10:35 a.m. the next day. And it's really important that we write that we have viewed this game the following day, not at 10:35 a.m. on the same day. Question 2 is a very similar question, and so I'll leave that one for you to have a go at yourselves.